My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. I'm Jasmine, I'm your host. For those of you that are just tuning in, I'm a recovered drug addict. And so what we do is we bring you guests who have experience with drug addiction or any real life sufferings, and they bring it to the table, they expose themselves, they bare themselves, and they let you know how they've made it through it. I have also been through the same struggles being a drug addict, growing up in a home with drug addiction. So I've been through a lot. I have a lot to offer, and our host Bobby here also has been. So if you're just tuning in, welcome. If you've seen us before, thank you for coming back. We love you. So this week's show is going to be a really good one. I think it's going to be a really heartfelt one. Yeah. Too. So our guest today is Elise. Hi, Elise.
Hey.
Hi. So the topic of this week's show is families and addiction. So you are not an addict, right?
Right.
No.
My mom is an alcoholic and an addict. She has been my whole life. I grew up thinking it was completely normal. Come to find out that it's not, and I'm not alone, and neither is anybody else out there, which is the biggest thing that I want people to know, because I felt so alone throughout the whole process, I thought for sure that I was the only one going through anything like that, especially as a kid in high school and trying to find myself, but I don't even know who I am, really, Yeah.
It's so crazy because, as you're talking, I can totally identify with everything you're saying, with not being okay, not knowing who I am, growing up in an unhealthy situation, but accepting it as normal. And then when you get exposed to reality and you're like, oh, this isn't normal. It's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
No, and that's that thing, right? So we already feel different. Nobody understands us, but we feel like that's normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, we can't talk about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, nobody can know.
Well, that's the big thing, too, is, it was all behind closed doors. So, growing up, it was out in public, everything was fine. Behind closed doors, it wasn't. And you couldn't talk about it because it was wrong, you know? And it's crazy in this day and age that family members are still quiet about it, because literally everyone's affected by it right now, in some sort of way, and just the fact that we still feel the need to be quiet about it is crazy.
No, we ain't quiet, are we?
No.
Yeah, okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about your growing, because you do a lot to help people today. You are amazing. You are someone I look up to, but I want to lead up to how you got to where you're at. So paint a picture of your childhood for me.
So I have a younger sister who's 19 months younger than me. We grew up and I almost became her protector.
Oh.
I became her protector without even knowing that that's what I was doing. So growing up, she was she was kind of crazier than I was and got in more trouble, but at the same time, I would come in and save her right away. So she just would get away with it, and I did that so that she didn't have to see that side of my mom. My dad was at work a lot, and so my mom was home with us. My mom was a school teacher. So
no kidding.
Yeah, so she was a school teacher in the school that I was in. So middle school time, friends started saying something was up, and I just denied it because I didn't even really understand it at that point. In middle school, I didn't understand what addiction was or what it meant. I knew that Mom got home, she got drunk and passed out, but I didn't really I thought that was completely normal. I thought that's just something adults did because we hung out with families that were exactly like mine. So growing up like that, I hung out with a lot of people that grew up just like me, and it included people that might not have been the best influences in me.
Yeah.
All of my friends that I hung out with are either in recovery or still active or in jail or are dead, you know, like I don't have any normal childhood friends per se.
Did you notice other people around you at all, like their lives being any different, or?
Yeah, so I remember going to one of my friends' houses, and she had like the perfect family, you know, like
One of those.
white picket fence, and like the family sat down for dinner and like like talked about their day, and it was
Like
the
we're
most
honest about the day.
And it was the most uncomfortable situation I have ever been in my life. And that's when I was just like, like, are we weird or are you weird? You know, like, I don't get what's happening here. Like, who talks about their day every single day while you're drinking milk at the dinner table? Like,
See,
it
that's
was
weird to me.
so,
Milk.
oh yeah.
So if that's like the point where you started to realize like something was maybe a little different, like what was the point where you're like, okay, this is definitely a thing?
So my dad got into a motorcycle accident when I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
And it was pretty severe. He was in Dartmouth for about 2 weeks, and he was in the ICU. And during that time, he was still getting like a paycheck and stuff.
Yeah.
And we got home, and the house was in foreclosure. The car was being repossessed. The lights were out. Everything was kind of in shambles.
How old were you?
10th grade, so 15.
Still were pretty young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, that's when I was just like, this isn't normal. Like,
Yeah.
the people that I go to school with have a house. They have electricity in their house.
Yeah.
They have parents who can have a car, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, my dad was still getting a paycheck, so the only explanation to that was that my mom just went out and spent the money on whatever else she wanted at the time.
So what happened?
My dad did some, I don't know, my dad was my dad and did something, fixed everything, and they stayed together for a long time, you know, and eventually I went off to college, and I thought for sure that that was like my way of getting out of this situation, and it worked for a while. Like, I did really great with college, and I got a great job right afterwards at a halfway house. It was a federal job, so I had like everything a 19-year-old person would ever want. Like, I had great benefits, great pay and stuff, and then I met somebody in the halfway house. It was brilliant, and I quickly realized that he was a heroin addict, and that's like when my codependency like totally took off. Like, it had always been there, but that's when it like really showed its true colors. Like, I would do anything to make him happy, you know, and regardless of what it did to me. If he wasn't happy, then I wasn't doing my job, and it was my fault that he wasn't happy, and I drove myself insane. Meanwhile, my dad's dealing with my mom. Eventually, we get arrested doing stupid stuff that comes with heroin addiction, and so my mom comes and picks me up from jail, and she starts drinking right away, and she blames me for this drinking, and she gets in this huge fight with my dad, and she leaves, and that's the last time that she was at the house.
How long ago was that?
That was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, and that's when I started like going to Al-Anon meetings, and I wasn't a huge fan of Al-Anon, but it could have been just because I wasn't ready. Like, I wasn't like, I didn't have an open mind the first time that I went to an Al-Anon meeting. I was just like, these people are all judging me.
They're weird.
Well, and here's the thing too, a lot of Al-Anon meetings are parents, you know, and here I am, a kid, and I immediately thought that I was like crazier than anybody else in that room, and all these mothers are going to be judging me, and they're not going to want me in the meeting, which
it's the complete
isn't
opposite.
true at
Oh
all.
my God, yeah.
Not
complete
true at all,
opposite.
but,
They have Al-Anon for adult children of addicts too,
yeah,
right?
so I started going to those too, and I just went to so many meetings, but like I wasn't ready to hear most of what was said in those meetings. But eventually I found the Family Restored meeting, and it's the first time that I like sat down and I was like, my mom's a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I just started crying, and I was just like, none of these people are judging me, and all of these people want to help me, and all these moms like are like, oh, I'll love you, blah blah blah, and like I'm just like, what have I been doing for the past like 20 something years, you know? Like I finally found like a place that like I felt unconditional love, you know? And I don't think that's something that I've ever really felt before.
Yeah.
And in that meeting, they do the 12 steps. So, which also I did not think was something that family members did. Like, if you were to ask me what the 12 steps was, I would have told you that it's something my mom should be doing, you know?
Have you found relief?
Yeah, like, the difference is like unbelievable in like my thinking, my thought process, my calmness. Like you know me pretty well. I'm a fairly calm individual.
Yes,
you know?
very calm.
And I was always just full of anxiety, full of like nerves all the time.
Waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just not like that anymore. You know, I'm like, day by day, it just keeps getting better. And it's still a process. Like, I still have to work on it every day, just like addicts do, you know? But, yeah, it's unbelievable. But it didn't come right away, which I wanted it to.
Yeah. So you're kind of talking earlier about like the codependency kind of thing, and like that's something I see so much in family members.
Oh my God.
It's like, and
yeah,
it's
so hard.
you know, maybe not, it starts going into the enabling, you know what I mean? I see people who are grown adults getting babied.
Or not enabling. You see some people who are abusive and like they use fear tactics, and I'm like, your loved one is never gonna get better with that approach.
Oh, yeah.
Shaming them, and I understand like they're hurt, and when you were telling your story, like I could feel that pain.
Yeah.
I could feel that, you know? And so you're dealing with that from a loved one that's drinking. And so, you know, I work in the medical field, and so I always working with families. Some of them are so angry and like their approach is so aggressive. And I'm like, I understand that you're hurt, but like they're not going to heal. Or they're codependent, they enable, they go above and beyond. And I'm like, you come pick your loved one up, there, you know, there's a chance they might not get well. Like, that's...
Yeah, I've tried it all. None of those approaches work, you know? Like, it's... And what I found is that I did all of that stuff for me. At that point, it wasn't for my mom. It wasn't for my ex-boyfriend. Like, it was for me. It was like a selfish motive that I had that made me do that. And it had, like, literally at that point, it had nothing to do with my mom. Like, I used to pay her cell phone every month. And I would tell myself that I'm doing that so that she could like call jobs and she could get a job, and she was homeless, so like I would tell myself like if she really needs something, like at least she has the cell phone to get a hold of somebody. Like that's such a lie, because like the real reason is because so that when I called her she would hopefully answer the phone, you know. And that's like a really small example, but it's something that so many family members do. Like, that's like the last thing that they can be like, I have control over this, you know, and it's not helpful.
It's really, really hard to find that place between like what is love and what is enabling, especially for people that want to, because it's like, what is that line? I mean, every case is different, and everyone is different.
Right, and that's the thing. I wish there was like a black and white, like do this and don't do that, but it's not. It's not like that. It's different in every situation. And in my specific situation, like I don't have contact with my mom today. I just can't, because there's no gray area with us. It's either that I'm really sick around her or I can be free in my own life. You know, there's no like, let's see if I just call her once a week. Like, no, that phone call turns into like every single night and me driving up to wherever she is and trying to find her. Like, there's no happy medium with us. But that's not true for all families, you know. A lot of families can have that gray area that I just can't.
They all need to do work on themselves.
Oh,
Sorry, Bobby.
So you were talking about, did you learn all that kind of stuff in that Family Restored program? Because like I know a lot of families, they'll reach out, they'll be like, I don't know what to do. My go-to is just say Al-Anon. So, but that's another thing. I've seen a lot of families do that and they just completely cut the kid out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily what the best thing is, because I've seen kids come in, cut out, but they're actually doing the right thing. And like there's a difference between enable and help.
A while to like completely kind of disengage. There was like a step process to boundaries. Like, let's set this boundary first, and like if we can't make this one happen, then maybe okay, let's go to
Did you
this
find
one.
the support there to do that?
Oh yeah,
That's so
like
amazing.
it's so crazy. Yeah, they have meetings all over like Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
Yeah, so they helped my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother was homeless, living in a tent for years. And so he made it to treatment by the grace of God, and he had nowhere to go after.
Yeah.
And they helped him, and they got him to a scholarship for a couple months. You know, I had just gotten sober. I was less than a year sober myself. I couldn't help him in any way. I couldn't even help myself. I was like barely feeding myself. Or, yeah, they helped my brother.
Yeah, it's
For
amazing.
like a couple months, and now
organization.
my brother's almost a year sober.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
that is amazing.
They do awesome things.
They do.
We should have people from them on the show more from there. Yeah.
Because that's something I feel like a lot of the focus is on the person suffering from addiction, right? And it's not just them. It's a family disease.
It's a
affects
societal
everybody.
disease. Don't even get me started.
All right, but let's take a small frame then. You know what I mean? Like I've seen, you know, family programs, that kind of thing, and like there's some real damage done, and it's not just let's focus on little Bobby who needs help. It's like, what's up with mom and dad though? Because mom can't stop crying, and dad's, you know, working 80 hours a week so he doesn't have to think about it. You know what I mean? That's not healthy either. We got to address this whole thing.
Yeah. Every family meeting I ever go to, I like look around the room, and a lot of times there's like 10, 15, maybe 20 people, and I'm just like, this room should be completely full of family members or loved ones. Like that's what I'm saying. Like at this day and age, like finally like the addicts are like starting to like open up and be like, this is my story, this is what's happening. But for some reason the families still feel the need to stay quiet, and that just can't happen. Like
I love you.
if this is gonna if family members are gonna get better, we need to start like speaking out.
You, Elise, have a voice for them. Like you have found healing.
Yeah.
And you have found freedom that people don't even know that they're missing.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes all it is just saying it's okay to talk about this.
Right.
Because like I grew up family, like, okay, stuff happens in the family, you don't talk about it. That's a family problem. Not the whole world needs to know.
Right.
But sometimes just like, I know I didn't feel comfortable about talking about my feelings, right? Because guys don't have feelings, right? Until I was in treatment or something, and somebody's like, hey, it's okay to have feelings. Talk about them. And then I did, and I got better. It's same with families, I feel like. It's like, hey, it's okay that you have these problems. There's places you could go to actually talk about it, get better, and these people will understand what you're going through.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
it's all like fear-based, like the fear of like judgment and all that stuff, just like anybody else has. Like, and it's not true. Like, and you see that when you step into like a good family meeting, that you see like that fear of judgment is just not even there. Like it's fully accepting, and we're there to help you.
You are so inspiring.
Oh.
No, you really
No,
are.
seriously.
This is great, because like I know the relief that I have found, and I know, like, with the depth, in the deepest level of my soul, like, I can love myself and I can offer that love to other people, right? And like, you have found that, and so I can, like, I talk to other addicts all the time, but like, you have the ability to connect with people who are suffering, you know, from the loved ones.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We need more of that.
No, it is crazy though, because like, I just met you, but I can't picture you as that other person.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? It's just
crazy.
It's just
it's
like
crazy to think back and think of all the stuff that, like, how I was and what I did. It's just like, I'm a completely different person, as are probably you guys, you know?
Yeah.
I had gold teeth.
He did. So did I. We actually posted pictures of our grills one time. We should find grills and wear them on the show one day.
Don't do that, 'cause I'm gonna get them. But yeah, no, it's just amazing how much time and like support systems and like going through this process changes somebody.
Yeah.
You know, to somebody that like is unrecognizable, that's like confident, happy.
Yeah.
You know what I
We
mean?
have a lot of people that watch the show, viewers, that they're not the ones suffering. So I'm so grateful that you came in, because you offer hope to them.
Yeah.
No.
It's so important.
You do. Anyone that's watching the show today, and you're not the person suffering with the disease of addiction, but you're the person that loves that person, like, reach out to Elise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please reach
I'm
out to her.
sponsoring family members too.
That's
so
amazing.
If any family member wants
Don't you
to,
love her even more?
wants
That's
to
awesome.
do the 12 steps, then I'm there too.
Or just love them.
Yeah, exactly. There's meetings that I can show them, anything that they need.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
So tell me about your life today.
So today, I mean, right now I'm looking for another job in recovery. I found like my knack in that. And like my main goals are like, I want to become like an interventionist or something like that, because like I feel
Did you take the course?
Yeah,
You did?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
or like have some sort of family retreat thing, but like,
That would be awesome.
yeah.
Like a family retreat, because there's so many retreats for us.
Right.
But
There's
I feel like,
nothing.
yeah, that would be amazing.
Nothing,
Just
yeah.
like a place, like quiet, a way to heal.
Yeah.
Share your
Like,
experience.
take care of yourself.
Yeah.
For like probably once in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And I don't know, I just feel at peace today, you know? And,
Yeah.
And that's something that like I didn't know that I didn't have until I had it, you know? It's funny too, and I always share this story when like I talk about this stuff, is that like when I was going through the 12 steps and stuff, my hardest thing was like the whole God thing, you know? And because I was like, if God was real, then he wouldn't have put me in this life, all this stuff. But so I needed like, I remember praying like to ask for signs that he's real. And my mom, or my grandmother, had just passed away, and she's like, anytime that you see a pink rose, or my sister did a medium reading or something, and she said anytime that you see a pink rose, that means your grandmother's around. And I walked out to my car one day, and there's just a random pink rose on my car. And first of all, that doesn't happen. It's
creepy.
No.
Right?
Yeah, that's...
Like, it doesn't I don't walk out to my car and have roses on my car.
That'd be nice, though.
Right? It would be nice, but it doesn't happen. And I looked around, and there was nobody else's car had a pink rose on it. And I was just like, well, what the heck? This is kind of strange. And then, like, right afterwards, I started praying for my mom to have peace, because I was praying for all kinds of different things, like what I wanted for her. And it was pretty selfish prayers, you know. And then I found her ring, this peace ring. And
Stop.
everything else of hers got stolen except for this. And I'm just like, this is...
I'm blown away.
Right, this is
I have
like-
God bumps.
Yeah, this is
God bumps?
God saying that, like, you're real. And ever since then, I'm just like, all right.
And you always wear that.
Always.
That's
just to remind me.
amazing.
And like right after that, it was just a sense of peace that I felt, you know, and like, and that's the biggest thing about today, is that I can walk down the street and feel like peace and ease, and not like anxiety and like craziness
And you know you're going to be okay.
and chaos, because that's
Yeah.
what I was living in and for so long.
No sense of impending doom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
No, it's insane, right?
Yeah.
Like just knowing like no matter what happens, I'm gonna be all right.
For real
Right.
though.
You know, whatever. I could pretty much take anything at this point.
Yeah.
Just be careful with your words.
Right. Right.
Send it. Send it. No, but that's amazing. That really is. That's insane. That really is. That's just. I didn't get signs like that. I just like got to sleep and my legs stopped shaking.
Right.
Well, if you look, they're there.
Very true.
They are. Yeah, I have interesting things happen to me all the time. You know, if you're open to it, it really is there. I'm certainly not a religious person, but like I don't know. Like you said, like I'm okay. I know that everything happens for a reason. I don't really have to like worry or stress about anything. It wasn't always that way.
Right.
You know, I'm 2 years sober in like 2 weeks, which is crazy to think about. I know, isn't that
Wow,
amazing?
that is crazy.
I know.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? Oh
Yeah.
my God, we're out of time. We didn't even get to talk about when I first got sober. Elise was my case manager, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we didn't even get to, because your story is so inspiring and like you just bared it all to us. I could literally like felt your pain, and you're talking about wanting to save your little sister, and I have a little brother, and like, you know, I always wanted to save him, and I did everything I could to him to help him, but then as I got older, I didn't know how to deal with my own internal condition, so I got really mean to him as I got older. I used to like force him to drink and do drugs with me, and then he ended up like being more of a vicious drug addict than I did, and I still today carry like some guilt and shame around that, because he was just a kid, and I was like, you ain't telling on me, you're doing this with me, and he'd be like, no, I'm not. I'd be like, yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You know, but he's okay too. Like he's gonna be a year sober.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah, I
awesome.
like unexpectedly lost my job, and like turns out the universe had a better job lined up for me. I lost my place to live. Turns out like the universe had a better place for me, and like the series of events had to happen to get me to where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Yeah,
You know, because
exactly.
I don't like change, so I was not moving.
And I look back and
Nobody
like
likes
I'm just so grateful for everything that has
Yeah.
happened, you know, because now I can do things like this. Like I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to you like this if those things didn't happen.
Yeah, we're out of time. Thank you.
Always
No
say
problem.
The show was great. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming.
No problem.
This was amazing. You know, if anyone is struggling, you know, with their own disease of addiction, or just struggling internally with anything, you know, feel free to reach out to anyone on the show, or you can reach out to our Facebook page. You can, you know, comment on our YouTube. You can reach out to any of us, you know, and anyone that's from a family perspective suffering, please reach out to Elise.
Yeah, absolutely.
She has a lot to offer all of you. Thank you all, and we love you. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. I'm Jasmine. I'm your host. If you're just tuning in, welcome. If you tune in and watch us every week, we love you. Welcome back. We have an awesome show lined up today.
I'm excited.
I know, I'm so excited.
I'm excited based on the little bit before this. Like, this is going to be awesome.
We're going to talk about hair a lot.
Yeah, it's going to get wild, so be prepared. So our guest this week is Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
What's up?
So I know Nikki, what was that, like 3 years ago? I was really, really struggling, and my spiritual advisor kept telling me, you need to connect with this woman, you need to connect with this woman. I remember the first time I came over, you were like, you had me like stretch my hip flexors or something.
Oh my God, it's something to make everyone do, even yeah, crow pose.
Yeah.
So,
crow pose. It releases it for women very specifically.
Yeah.
Women keep a lot of their emotions in their ovulation area. So if you do a hip flexor, it releases a lot of those issues in your tissues.
Yeah, and you can get very emotional after though, right? Yeah.
okay.
So I didn't appreciate that kind of stuff back then, but I do now.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then we kind of got disconnected there for a couple years, but we're like.
But I've always appreciated your energy.
Oh.
You have very consistent energy.
Yeah.
It's very kind and pure, and you just love people a lot, and that's not something that has wavered any time in your addiction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just
not
who you
at
are.
all. Do you know what's really funny? So I live a keto lifestyle, and I get really forgetful sometimes, and like people tell me that can be a side effect from keto. I don't really know if that's true or not. And so I was like at a family dinner, like a sponsorship family dinner with one of my sponsees, and she was like, yeah, she tells me like the same thing every day, but every time she tells me, she has the same level of excitement.
So that's pretty accurate, because like the fact that you just told me that I had you do that exercise, I have like all my clients do it, and I think it's like a brand new thing. I'm like, no one's gonna remember this, and like my level is like the same all the time. Like I'm very excited and authentic, and so I think it's just your energy.
Yeah.
It's literally just who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it hasn't changed. It hasn't wavered. So that's exciting for you.
Yes.
That you know that. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. So I'm a woman in long-term recovery from drugs and alcohol. I have been sober for over 3 years. I went through kind of what I would consider a really good process of recovery, where I did like a 30-day program, a 60-day program of transitional living, and then 11 months of sober living, which was done through Rise Above. And it was the only Manchester house that Rise Above ever had. And then from there, I got a job with Aware Recovery Care. So I didn't want to live in sober living and work in recovery, so I had moved out. But stayed connected to who I think you would call your spiritual advisor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did in-home addiction treatment, and it was very challenging, but a really good concept, but it just wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. So I was asked to become the director of Revive Recovery through your spiritual advisor, who is also a good friend of mine, and in her own way, a spiritual advisor to me too.
Yes.
So from there, I was the second director, and I got hired back in May of last year. And I was given like a laptop in a small office, and I had no experience, nothing to really guide me other than God, of my understanding. And they were like, all right, go. And I had total freedom, which is really good because I like to be creative in my own way. So they're like, okay, do whatever you want in, the confines of your budget. And so now today we have Revive Recovery, which is on 263 Main Street.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I know we're familiar with it, but maybe a lot of people aren't.
Yeah. So the way the whole thing came about was the state got about $1 million to create 10 recovery centers, and recovery centers in New Hampshire are kind of a new concept, and the first one was Hope for New Hampshire, and that kind of like created the precedent of recovery centers. And recovery centers are based on peer recovery support, so it's one person in recovery working with another person in recovery, and you don't necessarily have to be in recovery to be a recovery coach, but most people are. But it's more like there's a lot of boundaries and not boundaries, but like barriers, such as like the work suit and a desk and a PhD that are taken away. And it's like, well, I've gone through recovery and here's my experience and let's work together and I'll walk the path with you based on my life experience. And that's pretty much what recovery centers are. So the state has done a really, really great job with that grant, and they've created about, actually at this point I think we're at 13 recovery centers when we were told to do 10. And there's a lot of money coming into the state, and we're trying to like allocate it to be most productive for people in recovery. And that's like a whole other subject. That's like a whole other episode.
Okay, fair enough.
So
We'll do it.
Yeah,
oh, we can do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll do it.
oh, we'll do it.
Let's take it to the state. Let's do it.
Oh, we will do it. We did it a little bit on Sunday
We did.
when the radio station didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. We went off. It was
did.
great.
And it was, yeah, and we're going to do it again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep,
It
pretty
was
much.
great.
But so it's, it's a lot of peer recovery support. If people come in and need resources, we work on that. We have interns. I'm about to hire 2 more people.
I
So
think that's so amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. I started with a laptop, and now we're at almost at like 7 employees in a little over a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the idea of recovery centers because I really believe that addiction is a societal disease, and we need to take a look at like what the cause is, and we need to stop treating all these symptoms, you know. And so recovery centers are the idea of connection, community, and I really think that's where we're going to find. It's going to take a very, very, very long time for society to get well, but we can start.
And it's funny, so yesterday I had a guy who's running for Congress, Steve Negros. I hadn't heard of him until he ran for Congress, and he was amazing. He came into the center totally open-minded. We do not share political views, but I have so much appreciation for him, and I cannot vote in his district, but I would advise a lot of people to actually look into him. He just really, really cool guy. And without my addiction, I would have never had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
It became this thing where he reached out because he cared, and then my addiction brought that conversation on. So it was really cool. So, but we had this roundtable discussion. That was one of the questions, is like, you know, this societal, you know, what is the solution, or where does addiction come from, blah, blah, blah. And my answer was, it's society driven, and, you know, it's, you know, quick fixes and all this stuff. And then this other woman said something, and it totally blew my mind. She goes, there's not, like, just like there is not one pathway to recovery that fits one person, there's not one answer to why there is addiction. And I was like, oh my God. And that's it. That's so true. And it's not even like, you know, we have an epidemic in New Hampshire. And part of the reason I think we have an epidemic in New Hampshire is because we don't have really good access to healthcare and mental health and housing. And that's a state issue. And then, you know, throughout the country, there's an epidemic, but this is not the first time within the world that there's been like an epidemic. And for some cultures, like vodka is the remedy, or, you know, I'm Irish, so I could blame being an alcoholic on being Irish, right? Like, so this isn't like a new thing.
Yeah, some people are big pharma, like some people got addicted through, some people were misguided through medicine, some
Well,
people,
we've been addicted since we could crush grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The substance isn't going to go anywhere.
And that's what someone else had said yesterday. It's like, well, you know, so we're treating opioids, but now if you work in the field, you can see that the next thing we're going to have to treat is meth, which meth does not treat. So we're bringing $44 million in here, and that's not going to cover the next epidemic.
And I'm not against Matt, but like, so that's great. Let's, you know, especially because I work in a different state, and so what that state does is a lot of MAT treatment.
Yeah.
And like, that's okay, but what are we doing? Because the MAT's treating the symptom. It's not treating the underlying cause. So that person is still, in some degree, is internally suffering.
Well, it's just always Band-Aids.
Yeah.
No.
Very expensive Band-Aids.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but it's not for them when they see it in their scope.
Well, no, because they're making money off of it.
Yeah. And insurance companies are like, all right, here you go.
And it brings me into a whole conspiracy theory that we can't get into, that it's going to keep the poor people poor. But that's a whole other conspiracy
we really doing that?
Well, on my way here, I was listening to videos on Erykah Badu and being a witch and conspiracy theories. So I get it, but we'll keep it to drug addiction.
Yeah. Stay on the path a little bit. All right, so question. So trapped. What do you see, because I love the idea of Revive and the fact of having a safe place to go to be able to reach out, because I know when I got sober the first time, I had no idea, right? Like it was like a Monday morning and like everything has gone to hell and I'm just like, I need to go to rehab. And nobody knew what to do and I ended up in a psych ward.
Me too. Psych wards.
Yeah, good old St. V's,
and
my
it helped
alma mater.
Twice in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Now look at you.
Nice. I lied my way out in 18 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got a lot of Xanax out of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went down to Florida for rehab.
Oh, so it got even worse, is what I'm hearing.
No, and then I ended up here.
You had to go through what you had to get.
Yeah.
To get here.
No, I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, because like, I'm here today. I'm wearing a button down that I didn't steal.
No, that's huge. Honestly,
right?
that's huge.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like these little things that I
had
have in life.
a moment with Bobby earlier because so when Bobby first got sober, I remember you. Your hair was a shaggy mess.
Yeah.
You couldn't
and
pull
that's
it.
not today.
Oh my God! I
take pride in this.
Yeah. How long does it take to do that hair?
An hour and a half.
No.
An hour.
To get a haircut.
To get 2 hours to get a haircut.
It takes them 2 hours to cut my hair.
How
hour and a half to 2 hours.
How long does it take to perfectly gel it?
5 minutes. I have it down to a science.
You must have some good gel. It stays all day.
American Crew pomade.
Oh, I use a gel, or it's like a wax, and it has Elvis on the cover. I think it's called like American Crew.
It is.
It's a man's product.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I use in my hair.
It's the move. It's the move.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I respect it.
Thank you.
We got way out. What were we talking about?
About how when I came in here, I was in shambles. I was like, what, $1.50, $1.60?
I don't even know. And like the stuff that you would say was so unstable.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was outside waiting for him before the show, and he came like walking across the parking lot, like looking all dapper in his peacoat and his hair slicked back. And I just had a moment where I was so profound by how much I've seen him grow.
Same with you, though. When I met you, over 2 years ago?
Yeah, I was a mess.
Yeah, but look at you today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys are in front of cameras. Yeah. You have your own show. This is wild.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's wild.
This is not the camera I expected to be in front of.
True, yeah.
So, like, how do you... So, like, in my job as, you know, a director of a recovery center, like, my goal is to, like, you know, the only thing I can do, and I learned this from managing a sober living house, is create a safe space, right? Like I can't save anyone, right? And it took me a really long time to learn that. But anyone who works in the field, like whatever someone's purpose is in life, as someone who works in the field, you want to get them there. So you guys are sitting here. And so this is, you know, not necessarily whatever, you know, this is not necessarily what I want my clients to be if they don't want to, but if they want to be sitting here today, like this is, it's so profound and it's so inspiring. And what do you say to someone who could be watching this and they're like, you know, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to get out of the trenches.
No.
I'm never going to feel good about myself. I'm a bag of shit, and I am not destined for anything good because my life has proven that. Like, what would you say to them?
I would say I've felt that way. I've been where you're at. Like, I've been to the bottom of that feeling, right? And like, even when I took that first step into recovery, right? Because I wasn't one of those, like, I'm just going to go to detox and I'm going to go home and I'm going to work a program and everything's going to be fine. Like, I had to get away from Connecticut, you know, and I knew my buddy in college, who I used to get really messed up with, he introduced me to the wonderful world of opiates. He was a year sober up here. Today I work with him in recovery. Like, it's amazing. But he told me about this place that he was up at, so I went there, right? And that safe place. I had that safe place to work on my recovery. I had a place where other men could come to me and tell me what I was doing and what it looked like. And like, if you want to do that, you can. This is what I did to get better. And like, I was exactly where you were at. And when they honestly told me that, I was like, you're lying to me. I cannot believe that you were anywhere near as bad as I was. And like 2 years later, I'm here. And I could say the same thing to other men.
And you never saw it coming.
No.
That's the best part.
No,
You never saw it coming.
I thought at this age I would either be dead or in prison.
I can't even believe how good my life's gotten in 2 years.
Yeah.
Way better than I would have ever predicted. And it's so amazing because you're like, where is it going to be next year?
Yeah.
Like, where is it going to be? Like 2 years ago, I was homeless. I was living in the streets. I didn't shower. I didn't eat. I literally slept in the streets. There was a abandoned house that I squatted in, but it was filled with mold, so you didn't want to be in it. And there was a kiddie pool outside. But like, you know, little pools, when it rains and rains and rains, like they're so gross. So I would only just put my head in to wash it sometimes. Yeah. And so in 2 years, I went from that to where I'm at now. And I never, ever, ever thought that I never believed in myself enough to be here. Ever.
And it's nice.
Today I know, like, that's a lie. I deserve this.
Well, sometimes, like, I still don't.
Yeah.
And it's just that, and I think this is what I see as serenity, is that serenity is not this, like, place of euphoria and that I'm free from the bondages and I have, like, you know, pure flowing thoughts in my brain. Serenity is knowing that, like, the way my brain works, I've accepted that, and it's ebbs and flows, and it's gonna come and it's gonna go, and this is like total acceptance of. So this morning, and I'm getting more comfortable talking about. I've had an eating disorder for 15 years, and I put on 30 pounds, and I went to put on a pair of pants this morning, and they didn't fit. And then I realized I actually only have one pair of pants that fit, and all of the other pants I have to wear are yoga pants. So instantly I was like, well, you better start starving yourself. You better start punishing yourself. And like, you better go on a liquid diet. And then I'm like, no, this is just the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. And every time I'm uncomfortable in my own body, and I have to get comfortable being in a whole new body, because it is a whole new body.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have those thoughts, and it's serenity is knowing that those thoughts will go away, and that a higher power of my understanding will, you know, cushion. It's going to get cushioned. It's going to get less and less painful, but it will never go away. And that's pure serenity, is acceptance of my brain is really just special.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I totally forgot to say it. Honestly, all the stuff that I have today is whatever. Like, the fact that, like, I can live life and not hate every second of it.
Isn't
like,
that wild?
that's the biggest thing.
That's wild.
Like, the fact that, like, I can go through the day and, like, be genuinely happy and not have to just put on the face. Like, put on that fake smile of, like, everything's fine, don't look at me. The fact that, like, I could be genuinely happy, or if I'm upset, like, I could be genuine with it. And, like, I don't feel ashamed of it.
And just, yeah, and it's just, like, you don't have to, like, it was the spiritual advisor. I feel like we can just say her name, Amy Cloutier.
She is part of the exit team, so.
Yeah, so she, a couple
host of our Manchester show.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago I was just like, you know, struggling with the brain stuff. And it was just, you know, not feeling good about like my work ethic or whatever. And I have a really good work ethic, and I'm a Virgo, so if it's not perfect, I'm like, you better just die.
I'm a Virgo too.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. So she said to me, she's like, and it was so simple. She goes, you've suffered enough. And it just like blew my mind. And so for a whole week, that was my prayer, my mantra, and my meditation. You suffered enough. And then I was all of a sudden this weekend just like gifted women, strong, powerful women. And it was because I just shifted my thought that I'm not less worthy. And sometimes it's like, it sounds so simple to think that you're not less worthy, but to feel it and to like start acting that way. But when you do it, you're like, in a whole week, my life has shifted. In a whole week.
I was gonna say, it's so amazing. Like when you have that acceptance, or you can like another layer is like revealed, and you allow yourself to be there, right? It's really cool, and all of a sudden, like everything around you changes. But like another layer is gonna be removed,
Well,
and
I'm not ready
like
for it.
I call it the aha moment.
It is an aha moment.
Boy, like I remember people would tell me, it's like, I can't remember specifics, but they'd say this like one thing, or it's like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go with the broad one, right? And like, I'd be like, logically, I can understand that. And then I would have this experience, and it would just be like a click in my head. And then I'm like,
Actually, it's that simple.
yeah. And then like, I'd tell people, and they'd be like, yeah, I told you.
And like, you think it's like this profound
Yeah.
thought. You think like you just discovered something.
Yeah, like
Everyone's
you just reached the next level of consciousness. And then
But you
just
did
like,
for you.
Yeah.
You did for you.
No, very true.
Yeah.
But you think, because we're addicts, that we just discovered something, and we're like, we better write a book about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We better
Tell
be on the show. We
everyone.
better
Like, I
do
don't
the
know
show
if
right
you guys
now.
know this, but I just discovered electricity.
That's what it feels like.
No,
Energy is
seriously.
real.
We could go into that in quantum physics, and like we could get
That would
real.
be fun.
Yeah.
Look it up. Double slit experiment.
I already did. I already know about it.
Yes. All right.
The string theory.
Yeah.
Einstein was wrong.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
I want to be part of Mensa.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be cool. I'm not ready.
Another fellowship.
I would like to be in the Illuminati, only because they don't accept women.
I don't think they're real.
It's funny that you say that.
Freemasons?
Because Sunday, so Nikki has her own radio show, just so everyone knows, and I was on her radio show on Sunday, and when we left, May started talking about that. And I had no idea what he was talking about because I don't know what it is.
So the radio station is in the same building as Masons.
Really?
Yes, but women cannot be Masons, and I have a huge resentment. Not that I don't even need to be like a second degree Mason. I don't even care. Just like, don't tell me I can't be in it because I'm a woman.
I respect it.
Yeah, like that really upsets me.
I respect it. Like, oh, you told me I can't do this? Bad.
Yeah, so I'm going to start my own thing. Apparently there is a thing, and the Queen of England's part of it. It's called like the Stars, but no, I'm going to start my own thing.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
I support it.
Okay. So you're with conspiracies then?
Yeah.
All right. All right. As long as you don't think there's a hole in Antarctica that the lizard people come out of. Okay. We're just going to move on then.
It's none of my business, right? It's not my business.
Okay. So where do you see the future of Revive, of community centers, recovery centers? What do you see that? Like, what do you envision? Because I know whatever I do, I try to think of like, okay, what can I do today to be better? And like, what's my end goal? Like, what am I working towards?
And I say this all the time, and I feel like a little bit selfish that we talked more about stuff other than Revive. But so
Well,
Revive,
we're definitely going to be back on because we only have 2 minutes left.
okay,
Yeah.
So I'll do this really quickly.
Yeah.
Revive has always been bigger than me, and I've said that. Like sometimes I just feel like I show up to work and it built itself. Like the Nashua community, I've never, because I live in Manchester, I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy. And they kind of just built it, and we've had so much help from the health department, from Harbor Homes, from the mayor. The mayor has been like a huge support for us, from, you know, Process and Rise Above, who are our board members. And we're growing really, really quickly. Sometimes it I feel a little bit crazy.
There's such a need for it in
There,
Nashua.
and there is such a need for it, so all these, you know, different community groups are kind of grasping onto it, so I'm trying to keep up as much as possible, but where it goes is not my business. It's not my destiny. It's, you know, it's Nashua's destiny. It's recovery's destiny. But there is, I can feel it. It's growing really quickly and rapidly and just so beautifully. So where it's going to go, I think that the state is making a lot of drastic changes, which we're going to see between now and January, and then from January for the next 2 years with all of the money coming in. So we're just going to do our best to like kind of like put our seatbelts on and ride the wave. But there's some crazy stuff happening in the recovery community specifically. And I think the country, or I'll just go back to the recovery community, is more recognizing that peer recovery support is a huge piece that's been missing, and it's going to be a bridge to a lot of gaps.
It's that therapeutic value. You need that. You really do.
We need to get back to like basic core values that don't, you know, wrap around health insurance and doctors and diagnoses. It's like that human connection that we're building.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like we could do a whole show on that. I literally sit up at night like reading books and watching videos on that because I'm just, it's what I was always missing.
Yeah.
You know, we're out of time. I don't even know how this
happened.
happens.
Really fast.
Did it really?
Yeah, we're out of time.
Oh, wow.
This was a great show.
Oh,
this was awesome.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, we'd love to
anytime.
have you back.
Yeah.
It was so good. Everyone watching.
And then we could talk about the Queen of England.
At home, if you have any questions about Revive, or if you need any resources or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to Nikki.
888-317-8312.
Yeah, and what's the address to Revive?
263 Main Street, and nikki.casey@reviverecovery.org.
You can reach out whenever. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you and we love you.